there, my name's Elizabeth and I like to sew smart. Today I'm going to show you my 3 favourite ways of joining the tails at the ends on my binding. The first method I like to use is one that gives a diagonal join, and for this I like to leave plenty of tail end on your binding so you've got lots to work with. Now what I do first off is, this is representing your quilt of course, I like to make a little line about halfway down just with my friction iron off pen. One tail I bring up to the line, again I mark it, just draw a little line through there, and I'm going to cut that one off. The other tail that would actually come from your last corner, I take right down past the line, and I've cut a tiny piece off the 2.5 inch binding, open it up and lay it on the line, right on the line, and just mark it with your friction pen again, beyond the line this time, and we're going to cut that one off on that mark. Once you've done that, and this is of course homespun that I'm using, so there is really not much difference between a wrong and right side on it, but this is your right side of your binding. You're going to open that up, right sides together, so right top side there, you're going to bring it down and make like a little corner with the 2 pieces. And I like to put a little pin in that just to make sure that that's quite secure. Lift that up. Let's put a little pin in it there. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. Haven't got that quite perfect, so we'll pull that down a bit, and we're going to draw a line from that corner to that corner. It is a little bit tricky, but you can really get a nice finish with this one. And just draw across corner to corner, and we're going to stitch along that line, and then we'll be finished. I'm not a great pin user, but it is important that you get this. Hold it nice and taut under the machine. I'm using dark thread of course, it isn't quite even. I'm using dark thread so that you can actually see the stitch line. So I'm going to just stitch right along the line to the corner, the thread, and when you turn it over, there you have a nice mitre. You will be left with this bulk, so I always clip this bulk off at about 1/4 inch. You can make it a bit bigger, but it does leave a little bit of bulk. If you do that, I'm going to press, finger press that seam open and fold it down, and there you have a nice diagonal join for your quilt binding. The second type of binding, the joining the binding that I use, is the tuck in method, where one flat end tucks into an end with an angle on. To get that angle, you open up the piece on the left of your binding, fold it over into a triangle, make sure the corner is nicely nipped, finger press it, open it up, and I cut it off roughly 1/2 inch from the edge. And then I tuck that in nicely. It just needs to come over just a tad. So it ends up with a nice little angle, just like that. And then this end, I'll bring it over. It needs to tuck into that, so we'll cut it just past where the angle meets the bottom there. So we'll snip that off, just there. And that piece tucks neatly into the other side. Use the, make sure it's well tucked in. And then you will just stitch down where you left off, all the way to the bottom. Keep it nice and taut. I would pin it to make sure it's nice and taut. Just stitch it all the way down, and then when you turn it over, again you have a nice diagonal seam. The final method that I have is just a really simple method that I have used for a long time, especially if I'm in a hurry. And all I do with this is take the two ends of the tails again, smooth them out, fold one down, just finger press it, bring the other one up and finger press it, but leave about 1/8 of an inch, finger press it, and at 1/4 of an inch from that, just snip it off, and 1/4 of an inch this side, snip it off. With right sides together, I pull these two pieces in and I join them along that 1/4 inch line, stitch it along there. I'll just go to the machine now and stitch it. So now I'm just going to stitch the 1/4 inch seam again down there. So I've just pressed that seam flat and over, and you'll see how nice and taut that one is. All you have to do now is stitch again to finish off your binding before you turn it over and stitch on the other side.